Hello, Bears fans. Welcome to a brand new edition of Bears on Tap. It's good to be back. Good to be back with you guys. We're coming off about a week hiatus. Last time you heard from us, Q and I had special guest Kent Lee Platt on, aka Math Bomb. That was a great show. And today we're back with the trio. I almost said threesome. That would have sounded weird. I'm Ron Luce, joined by the boys Q and Juice. Gentlemen, how you guys doing? Happy Wednesday.
I'm doing good, man. I am getting back into the groove of all things football after almost burning out on the draft. So I'm back in full force, looking at stats and tape, and just football's it's almost here. Just a few months, guys.
Closer and closer. D Juice, how you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm using football to step away from our Cubs woes. So been rewatching old games and watching draft tape as we now know who the Bears have, and now we have the schedule. So fun, right? I mean, it'll be fun to and actually too, I was just with my brother-in-law this weekend. We were talking about the games that we're splitting, which ones we're going to, which games I have, which games he has, and just talking the schedule and trying to figure out which ones to sell, which ones to keep. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. That first Green Bay one will be I'm throwing a huge tailgate already. So nice. I will be at that one watching hopefully a Bears win at home for the first time in a long time.
Hell yeah, man. I feel that excitement. I'm at that point now too where like Juice, I'm there with you, buddy. The Cubs are pissing me off lately, so I'm just like football. Like that's my distraction from that reality right now. But gentlemen, you guys noted schedule's out. We finally know when the Bears play who, when, on what networks, on what days of the week. We've got all of it here today, and I think we're gonna have a little fun with this today. I mentioned to talk about some favorite games, some least favorite games. If we go down a little bit of a schedule rabbit hole, I say fuck it, let's do it. But gentlemen, do just right out the gate, maybe just a quick read through of the schedule. Won't get too crazy into the, obviously times and networks and all that, but obviously the Bears open up at home with Green Bay, then 2 on the road against Tampa and Kansas City, back home against Denver in week 4, only to go at Washington on Thursday Night Football in week 5. Minnesota and Vegas back-to-back at home, but a week 8 trip to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. And then they'll be in New Orleans the following week. Then games against Carolina at home and Detroit and Minnesota on the road. Before that, another late bye week for the Bears was week 14 last year, guys, and now week 13 again this year. So very NFL doesn't like giving the Bears early bye weeks, apparently. Nonetheless, they come out of the bye week into their second game, against Detroit at home. Then they're in the mistake on the lake against the Cleveland Browns week 15. Week 16 they got the duo of Birds, Arizona and Atlanta, and week 16 and 17, and then at Green Bay to end the season in week 18. Gentlemen, also too, before we get into the games themselves, would love to know your guys' thoughts on the Bears schedule release video. Would love to know what you guys think about that.
So I'm a huge fan of the Bear. Like I'm counting down the days until season 2 gets released. And as you guys know, I work in food service. So it's a show that like just resonates so much with me. I see a lot of it within, the Chicago market. I used to work in the Chicago market. So a lot of this makes sense. Really creative. I will say that they were outdone by what I thought the best one was, which was Tennessee, walking up Broadway, and just hilarious stuff because I was on Broadway the week before. So I was really upset that, I wasn't, ran up to with a mic and told to mispronounce a team or something, which would be hilarious to see just me make a cameo on that. But no, I thought it was real creative. They try at least. I'll give them that. Like, I thought that they did the show justice, and it was cool to see like all the guys, around each other, kind of doing their own little acting impersonation stuff too, which I thought was pretty cool. I absolutely hate Annie Agar though, so I was not a fan that she was in it.
I was gonna say I don't think you're the only one. Q, what did you think?
I thought it was great, and at least they made Annie Agar the Lions fan. Like,
Yeah.
that's the saving grace there. But I mean, I thought it was great. It was good to see them. Like, it was a nice surprise. I was just kind of expecting it to not be that good because that's kind of what we've come to expect from this segment of the NFL with the Bears. Like, it's just not really something they've done that well with. But I thought it was awesome. The only two, like Juice said, he thought the only one that was better was Tennessee. I throw the Chargers in there too.
Yeah, that's another good one.
The Titans and the Chargers was great. I spent like 30 minutes going through that thing looking for Easter eggs. Like, it was awesome. But the Bears was great. I was a big fan of that show, The Bear, and the creativity side of it. It was just cool to see them put in that kind of effort on it, and it made it a little more fun for as a guy who has been yelling into the sky that schedule release is stupid. I had fun with it. So they did something right.
They 100% did. And I think my favorite part of the whole thing, obviously, the nod to the show The Bear. I think the nod to kind of that old school, like Chicago, everybody's got a place that looks exactly like that you go to, right? Where, the block letters on the menu and it's burgers and gyros and hot dogs. Like, that's what it was kind of a tribute to as well on top of it. But it was cool seeing the mix of current and former Bears. I think that was truthfully my favorite part, right? Because you get some of the great personalities and guys like Peanut Tillman and Spice Adams in there. You get the current guys, and quite a few current guys too, right? Like everybody from Sanborn to Fields to some of the guys that just signed, like Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. So it was cool to see the mix of flair and how they incorporated everybody. And I think they did a good job with, all the references as well, right? With the dry chicken and all of that for the bird teams and whatnot. So agree with you guys, had fun with it. Juice, I figured somebody was gonna have a comment about Annie Agar being in there, and
she's the worst. And she
very hated.
So backstory too, she was a reporter in Grand Rapids when I lived up there. So she was around that area all the time. And I'd met her before. She's not very nice. Let me just say that. Like, not a nice lady.
Fair enough, man. Hey, I was gonna say you have actually been able to speak to her in person.
So not a fan.
I have nothing to add nor subtract from that. But guys, yeah, I thought they did a great job. Agree with you guys. Tennessee's it was viral. Everybody jumped on board with it too, right? The Falcons changed their Twitter name to the Red Stallions, and everybody went along with it and had a lot of fun with it too, which I thought was super, super cool. So Sophisticated Thought says here, he says, I love on the Chargers release how they mock the Chicago Bears as the baby Bears, mocking the team in a rebuild. Also had a sign up that said brick by brick, LOL, anime excellence. Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like the Chargers have set the standard though, right? Like every single year, that media team, that social media team they're fantastic. They do so good. Like they always do the Pop-Tart flavors for every opponent on the schedule, which is hysterical to see. This year it was for the, what was it? Deep dish pizza was the Pop-Tart flavor for Chicago. I think it was. So
I didn't see it, but that sounds
I'd have to go back and watch again.
It's fun. They do a good job. They definitely get into it, and it is a lot of fun to see. But guys, any just off the top thoughts here with the schedule, trying to keep it brief. Obviously, we'll dive into some of our, matchups we're looking forward to, ones maybe we're not looking forward to, etc. But just overarching thoughts here with the, now that we know the order in which the Bears will play in 2020.
Not a single opponent coming off a bye week, which is weird. That must be a quirk with adding the 17th game, because I don't think that happened in the past, like before the 17 games came around. And not a single team coming off Thursday Night Football, so no one even has a mini bye going against the Bears. I think that's a huge, like that's going to get them an extra win somewhere.
100%. Juice, any other thoughts to add?
Well, one for the schedule, I think I looked too. They have the least amount of air travel for the year too, or one of the bottom 3 or 4.
I believe it's third least.
Yeah, so that's always a good thing too, not having to fly all the way around. And I'll say this, like as a season ticket holder, the fact that like they have a Christmas Eve game and a New Year's Eve game, kind of cool, kind of not. Because at the end of the year, it is all based on, how good they are and how quickly you can get rid of things like that. If you're, because for Christmas Eve for us, it's nearly impossible for me to go to a football game in the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I got everybody over at my house, but I'll say this, like it's the second year in a row, obviously, because they play on Saturdays and Sundays. So, I mean, it's a rare occurrence, but the back-to-back with the Christmas Eve games, just, man, I was looking at that schedule and I'm like, man, this just sucks. Like one of us is either going to have to go or, I'm going to have to find somebody who, isn't looking to celebrate on Christmas Eve, which I'm sure I can on this show.
Perhaps. No, we'll definitely help you in any way we can, buddy. Getting rid of the tickets quickly to the comments here as well. People saying "Da Bears" and saying "What's up, boys? How are you doing, Mr. Bodway? Appreciate you joining us, guys. Let's dive into it because I feel like this is one of the most kind of fun parts of what we do. And actually, we got a quick comment here that I want to share. Sophisticated thoughts on the schedule. Says what stuck out to him most, the Bears playing a couple of first-time starters, Jordan Love, Desmond Ridder, Bryce Young, and Fields finally getting to play against Justin Herbert were some of his thoughts. So agreed. I think that is kind of cool. It is a very unique schedule this year. A lot of teams that you don't typically see on the Bears schedule, which is refreshing, I think. But gentlemen, game you're most looking forward to on the schedule. Just go around the horn here, Q, if you want to lead us off. You got one for us? Or maybe there's two that are right there neck and neck. What do you got?
I mean, I look at this and, with the idea that the Bears are going to be in the hunt late in the season and like trying to vie for a playoff spot and probably needing to win games down the stretch, coming off the bye in week 13. Detroit's coming to Chicago week 14. They're the favorites to win the division, I believe. I think if they're not, I think they should be. And they're coming to Chicago. I don't know how it's anything but that game. That's the one that I am looking forward to. Jared Goff coming back to Soldier Field in December, where he's had some bad memories before. Like that is an A+ game for me that I am excited to watch.
100%. Juice, what's the one you're looking forward to, buddy?
I got to be right out the gate and be honest with you and say that I'm excited to go week 1 and watch them play Green Bay. It's an afternoon game. It's a way to exercise some demons because they're not going to have 12 to, come down the field at the end of it. I'll say this, like opening day for us is always a lot of fun. The last time they opened up against Green Bay, obviously didn't work out. That 10-3 loss.
4 times.
Like more or less like the last time they were that with expectations, that one was something that we should have known in that moment that it was destined to fail. But I'll say this, it's a matter of new quarterback for them, new pieces to work with. Both teams will probably have, gadget plays and things like that within the game plan too that are fun. And it'll be interesting to see, Justin Fields with all that, on his weight on his back. This is the year you got to take the step. What a perfect week 1 to come out and just, beat your rival and establish a new dominance between the rivalry of hey, like this is how this is going to be for, as we hope, like the next 10, 12 years.
100%.
I think the week 1 Packers games have just beat me into submission over the years. Like between 2019 and that, terrible
that game was horrible.
2018 with like all the hope that was built up, and then it was like Aaron Rodgers coming out and doing God stuff. And then 2009 after they got Jay Cutler. Like between those 3 games, I'm just like, I should be excited about that week 1 game, but I have PTSD, man. I am worried about it.
Yeah, but what's the common trend between all 4 of those? 12.
Aaron Rodgers.
There's no more 12. Just in your mind there, Q, just remember the bad man is gone. Things can easily reset here.
Exercise.
And I know for a fact, knowing you how much you love football, by the time we get to week 1, you're going to be like, Bears, 567, Packers, negative tree. Like that's going to be like our preview show, and that's how we'll be kicking the season off. But I'm already there, man. And I think a lot of it too, like goes into like for me, the ambiance of like opening day, seeing people that I hadn't seen all year that, I've watched several heartbreaks with over the course of having tickets. And like, I think, your Buzz obviously has season tickets as well. We usually go together and put a huge spread together. So, I mean, this is already an invite to anybody who listens to the show to find us in the South Lot. We'll be out there. But it's going to be just a lot of fun to and an afternoon start. Like usually these are either night, which sucks, or super early in the morning, which I'm okay with. Like at least you're back by 3. You can watch the afternoon ones. But how cool is it I'm going to get to sleep in and then put the grill in the car and head that way, which I don't think I can say that. I can't remember the last time the Bears Packers at Soldier Field were like an afternoon start that I went to. It could have been recently, but that I went to, it's been a long time.
Yeah, I think that's something to the point, Juice, for that first game, right? This year, the Bears have, obviously they're on Thursday Night Football twice, they're on Monday Night Football once, but they're in that more or less kind of prime time slot on Sundays, that 3:25 late slot, because more eyes are on those games because there's just less of them. They're on that 3 times right now as it's scheduled. Obviously, after week 5, things can be flexed and fluxed and all that fun shit, but at least for the time being, they, in theory, if you want to consider those more prime time-ish games on a Sunday afternoon, they're like in the national spotlight like that 6 times this year. That just, I think, shows that the schedule makers are expecting big things out of the Bears. I think the NFL is expecting them to take another step forward. It's cool to see the excitement based on how they've scheduled the Bears, right? I think that's the thing here, where there hasn't been that same level of hype in a few years, right? I mean, shit, last year they were pretty much every game was a 12 o'clock game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they had a 3:25 game on Sunday last year. So it's cool to see that they're going to get at least potentially 3 opportunities to do that, and they get to do it right away in week 1.
Yeah, I know West Coast time zones come into play there. I assume the Chargers are a 3:30 game, but like Packers, I mean, that's just
Chargers are the Sunday night game, actually.
Oh, that's Sunday night. Okay, well then it's probably not. West Coast probably isn't playing into it then, unless Kansas City's on West Coast time. I don't think they are.
Nope, they're Central time zone as well.
Yeah, actually,
Arizona's probably the only one that might actually factor in with the Pacific time zone. Or they're
well, boys. This is just what happens when you have one of the best QBs in the NFC.
Big facts.
Yeah, right.
Fire me up, Q. Damn right. No, I agree, man. And just quickly go into the comments here too. Pat was talking about nice preview for the future of the league in the sense of some of those young quarterbacks and what was mentioned by and saying Tremaine Edmonds going to be all over Goff. In addition, seeing him play against CJ, I'm assuming that means CJ Stroud. Jacksonville on the schedule next year, so you'll get to see the Trevor Lawrence bid.
That's going to be a big one,
etc.
I am already excited for the first Trevor Lawrence Justin Fields matchup.
Hey,
those dudes grew up 15 miles apart from each other,
right? And
they've
were
known each other their whole lives, like at least like just somewhat. That maybe not knew each other well throughout high school, but they knew who each other were. Mm-hmm. They knew that guy 15 miles away was the number 1 QB in the country, and they just kept going back and forth on it. Like, and then the college playoff stuff where they faced each other. And I am juiced up for a Trevor Lawrence Justin Fields matchup.
I was going to say, I feel like the game we're most excited for is not even on this year's schedule. I'm actually, guys, I'll tell you what, it's a game I'm excited for, and it's not even because of I think the Bears are going to win. I think it's just because of the optics of the game, and that's when they go and play Kansas City in Kansas City. Because if especially early in the year, right? We saw it last year with Fields, where early in the season he looked really bad. Some of that could have absolutely been just how they were game planning the offense to him, but we saw kind of him take some more of those steps later in the year, right? Like that run against the Dolphins and against Detroit and etc. What a perfect game. Even if they do lose, if they come out and it's just an absolute gong show of a scoring back and forth, Justin keeps some pace with a guy like Mahomes, that's a hell of a coming out party in the first couple weeks of the season, I think. And I think that's why I'm kind of excited, is seeing how does Justin Fields respond, not only being in Arrowhead, because Arrowhead's just Arrowhead, right? I mean, it's truly a home and field advantage for the Chiefs to play there. But B, the optics of that game. They are playing the reigning Super Bowl champions. They are playing the best quarterback in the league in Mahomes. Can JF1 keep pace with him? And if he does, that's going to be a huge storyline following that week 3, no matter what happens. Even if the Bears, lose by 10, 15 points, it won't matter. If Fields keeps pace with Mahomes, people are going to be talking about it. So at least I think for me, that's kind of the one jumping out the gate. I agree. I think that Lions one, especially late in the year, will probably have a lot of NFC North implications, truthfully. And of course, Green Bay, because it's Green Bay, and God, they need to exercise some of those demons.
And Ron, don't be surprised too if that Chiefs game has a good amount of Bears fans too. Everybody who I've talked to who takes like the trips and stuff, that was the one they circled when they found out they weren't playing in London. I mean, what a great weekend to go get some awesome food, hang out down there. It's a fun city, watch the Bears, and like you said, it's an afternoon start. So, I mean, how awesome is it you can kind of round it into a long weekend and come back. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a good amount of Bears fans at that game either.
Agreed. It definitely won't be all red and white.
For that game, that Kansas City game against Pat Mahomes, I mean, I think there is a real case to be made that quarterbacks in this league are not judged by how they do against the best defenses, but how they battle with the best quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Like, Justin goes out there, gets a win with 2 touchdowns and interception against the best defense in the NFL. It doesn't get noticed that much. Justin Fields goes out there and hangs nail for nail with Pat Mahomes. Everyone's noticing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. So that's where my heart and my head lies in terms of favorite. But guys, for every favorite on the schedule, we have a least favorite game on the schedule. One that you're just cringing when you look at it and going, son of a bitch, either it's going to be really ugly or whatever. Q, you look anxious to share yours. What do you got for us, my man?
Oh, man. Right after my favorite, week 15. Bears go to Cleveland. And that Cleveland D line is just disgusting right now. Like, that terrifies me. Myles Garrett, they just got Darius Smith. They signed Ogbanyo Okoronkwo in the offseason, another edge rush. They got a 3-headed monster at the edge position. And then they brought in a defensive tackle from the Giants. I forget his name. Is it Dalvin Tomlinson? No, I don't think it was Tomlinson. They brought in a big, solid nose tackle. They drafted a solid nose tackle. They drafted another edge rusher who I liked. Like, that D line is going to be good. They've got Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward at corner, so that they've got a good secondary to go with it as long as they're healthy. And that O line is just, they won't throw the football if they don't have to. Like, they are perfectly content just running the ball up and down the field. I am worried about that game, December 17th, playoff implications in line for the Bears, and I think it could be a rough one for them if they're not on their P's and Q's.
100%. Juice, what do you got on?
So mine really comes down to like how the season plays out before, and I look at the Panthers game on 11-9, and I'm like, man, if the Bears are struggling and Justin Fields doesn't look good, and that number 1 pick comes into town and he can play and beat you in your own, the national media and the city of Chicago will go freaking nuts because everybody will sit flipping on their own takes saying, oh, well, they should have picked the quarter. They should have traded Justin Fields. Well, as we sit here today, I think it's hilarious because you're not hearing any of that, but you know how quickly people will flip their opinion. And you know what this city will do if you're not playing well and what this means for, the Bears never had a number 1 pick and they traded out of it and they didn't pick a quarterback because they thought they had the better quarterback. But if that kid comes in and beats them and Justin Fields has already been struggling, this city may be on flames and the Bears may have a PR nightmare, that's why I don't worry about the game itself. I just worry how the season plays out before it. And I circle that and I go, that one could be one of those where we're sitting here very much complaining about the fan base, about where we've went since then. And I worry about, I really just hope they go out and kick that team's ass. And it just shows, hey, like they made the right choice. That's what we're all hoping. But I circled it like that because I know what this city's media can do, and I know what these fans can do, and that worries me.
100%. I think too with that Panthers game, Juice, like that screams to me is it's a perfect opportunity if you're the Bears to beat the shit out of them, because then that just helps you in the draft next year. Like you want to beat the shit out of them, because then it's like, cool, that's another L that we're hanging in their loss column. That's just going to benefit us when, hopefully it's a top 5 pick ringing in at the start of next year with a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. just chilling in the top 5, ready to be taken as another weapon for Justin Fields. So agree with you there. Q, you got any comment on that game at all?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that highly of the Panthers, so I'm not I completely get what you're saying, but that game isn't worrying to me at this point. Like they're probably better than I'm giving them credit for right now. Like a couple months ago, I was saying, I don't know, they almost made the playoffs last year, but like, I don't know. With the more I've thought about it, with them losing DJ Moore, with Deontay Foreman leaving to become a Chicago Bear, and just I'm not sure. Like, I think they're going to be a well-coached team. I think they're going to fight hard. I just think they're going to be playing at a talent deficit at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Again, there's a reason they were in the top 10 picking. There's a reason that, they've kind of done a semi-rebuild. I wouldn't call it a complete rebuild. Obviously, they shipped McCaffrey out. They've shipped DJ Moore out. They backfilled Moore with Adam Thielen, who is an aging receiver. I mean, he's not DJ Moore, just let's call it what it is. They went out and got Mingo in the draft, so you figure he's probably going to be their 1A, right, in that offense. Tommy Tremble, Miles Sanders in the backfield. Like, agree with you, Q. Like, they're not a bad, terrible football team, but like, they're definitely going to be playing at a deficit at points. They've only got a handful of what I would call elite defensive players. JC Horn, I would play in that category. I'm a big fan personally of the former Saluki, Mr. Jeremy Chin. And then, Brian Burns, obviously a really good edge rusher too. So, they've got guys, but again, I agree with you, Q, but totally agree with you, Juice. I mean, your point is incredibly valid. I think that's a game that, depending on how the season shakes up to that point, can definitely, do some things. Guys, my least favorite game, this one to me, just it feels like the game that the Bears just don't show up and they just get their doors blown off. And it's just not going to be fun to watch. And that's when they go to New Orleans. That game to me screams kind of almost a trap game, right? You're coming off of Sunday Night Football against the Chargers. You got to go all the way west to come back home to then venture down south. It's a 12 o'clock start, 1 o'clock start locally, for New Orleans. Is New Orleans Eastern time zone? That might be a really dumb question, but are they Eastern time zone or are they Central time zone?
I think they're Central.
Are they Central?
I think so.
It would make sense. I mean, they're directly south of Illinois.
Yeah.
I
believe they are.
Okay. So you figure it's a noon game in New Orleans. That building the Superdome gets hella loud. Like, to me, that just is, especially if they're coming off a really big win in primetime against the Chargers, like if Fields just outduels Herbert, like, to me, that screams the game that they don't show up. And that would suck because, later in the season, especially if the Saints aren't playing well early on in the season, kind of to your point, Juice, that's going to be a game that you look back at the end of the year. And if they miss by a game for the playoffs, you go, son of a bitch. If they show up, maybe it's different. Because, like, maybe that's the game that they only lose by 4 or 5 points. But if you're like, well, fuck, if you showed up and ready to play, you would have won by 10. And, that game screams trap game to me, just in the sense of the environment, what they're coming off of the prior week with that Sunday night game against the Chargers, and just the bye week creeping in and it being kind of that midpoint, the dog days of the season. It scares me.
I feel like the Bears have and this, it doesn't have anything to any predictive nature because it doesn't say anything about the current roster, but I feel like they've always played New Orleans tougher than everyone expects.
Mm-hmm.
Like every game I can think of watching in, the last 10 years of Bears Saints, it's always like, I feel like the Bears have always been in the game until late, and they really shouldn't have been in a lot of those cases. so it's just interesting. I wonder why that is. Like, what if it's the stadium there? If it's, you know, if SEC players getting to play close to home and being like excited about it, or like, but I feel like they always play New Orleans really tough.
Fair. I appreciate a good counterpoint, because if I don't have to be afraid, then that makes me sleep.
Oh, I expect that to be one of the weirdest games of the season too. So
100%. Yeah. You know, like Derek Carr's walking down, the middle of the bayou before that game, finding a voodoo doll of Justin Fields and poking it in all the right places. I don't know. Yeah, that game just screams weird to me. But speaking of weird, because there's always a game, maybe not the one you're looking forward to the most, it's maybe not the one you're looking forward to the least, but like, is there a game on the schedule that you just, maybe this is yours, Q, but like that you just kind of go, my hunch tells me this game's gonna really just, you're gonna watch it and be like, what the hell is going on? Do you guys have that one? I would love to toss it around the
the Los Angeles Chargers have not played a normal game in 30 years. So I mean, that's gonna be a weird game. That's just gonna be a weird game. It's in LA, it's 2 days before Halloween. It's gonna be weird. I just know it. Outside of that, Denver.
Yeah, that was mine.
Kind of along the same lines as the Saints game that I said. Like, it's just, those games are just, Bears-Broncos games are just always weird. Like, you remember back, was
Marion Barber
2010 or 2011, like Marion Barber, like that one too. But like there was one, or maybe it was the same game. Maybe I'm thinking Brandon Marshall on the wrong team, because there was one where Brandon Marshall like just took over late in the game, but it was Brandon Marshall on the Broncos where he took over late and just started like going nuts. That had to be like 2008, because that was Cutler too. It was Cutler and Marshall, and it was like, who are these guys?
I always think of the double punt return too for Devin. Devin had the kickoff and the punt return that one. That was a weird game because the offense like barely scored, and they would go down. The Broncos would go down, score, and then Devin would run one back. And then it was like at the end of the game, we were like, I think the offense scored like one touchdown the whole day, which those Bronco, and especially coming off of that Chiefs game too, where we're talking about, the high level of quarterback play. It's just got like that just rut willing to happen there. Like weird, like 17-10 weird game that like some weird shit happens. Yeah. I'm with you on that one, Q.
3 safeties and and
a couple, weird Russell Wilson isms throughout the game, just some weird stuff going on.
So, some great Subway commercials all throughout.
Yeah. I'm sure the whole flight there I'll be, doing like high knees or some shit the whole way there too. So
it's spicy.
Weird fucking dude.
No, I agree, guys. Like the Denver one on the schedule, I looked at and I was just like, ugh. But I'll tell you what, this is going back to an earlier point from Q, and this is screaming to me that this game's going to be just the strangest shit ever. It's that Tampa game. It's going to be hot as shit. It's week 2 of the season. It's a noon game. It's not even like it's a late afternoon game. It's a noon game. It's going to be like the heart of hurricane season in Tampa. It's going to be hotter than shit. It's going to be 155% humidity. Like, that's the game that 5 guys go down, but you just learn later it was just cramping. Like, it's that kind of game. That's the game to me that like Equanimous St. Brown is your leading receiver, right? Like, just because guys are cramping up and you're constantly rotating receivers, and like EQ gets like 2 big plays and all of a sudden he's your lead receiver in terms of yardage at the end of the day. Like, maybe Roschon Johnson probably has like the best game of all the running backs. It's going to be that kind of game. Like,
maybe it's one of those that Miami Dolphins one from when they were in the sun remember, and that went to overtime, and what was that, 20? It was 2018?
Yeah. 2018 or 2019.
Yeah. Really odd football game. But I thought of that too, Ron. The first time when I looked at the schedule, I was like, man, Florida is going to be – and I got family down that way. There's a good chance I'm maybe at that one too, considering that my brother-in-law is down that way and we'll be doing his bachelor party at the time. So maybe that's in the cards for us to go that way and watch the football.
I dig that. That would be
sweet. I think in 20, I think it was 2016. The Bears season pretty much ended week 2 in Tampa. Like Kyle Long got injured, a bunch of other people got injured.
Yeah.
Like it was just like crazy injuries happened all over the roster.
See?
And we all looked at each other and went, well, that was fun. And let's at least we had the Cubs at that moment.
Nice. Hey man, that's the crazy thing. And back to you guys' point about those Denver games. Sophisticated saying here, guys, remember Vic Fangio's first year as Broncos head coach came down to the wire.
That was such
sealed the victory with a pick.
Such a weird game. That was so bizarre. Like I was on pins and needles that whole game.
I feel like if two teams play each other and they have the same color scheme, it's destined to be a weird game, right?
I like that. I think you're right.
I think that's an NFL rule. Actually, I think they built that into the
like,
rule book.
That just feels like a thing.
It's
right?
just like it's the Spider-Man meme of just like
yeah,
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Like that's the game where you pray when you're playing in online mode against like a buddy and you're playing that game and like you both wear blue, the home blues like an asshole. That's that. Like that's what I immediately think of. Like it's we look the same. What do you want me to do?
So really though, I think that's a thing. Like because I've heard NFL quarterbacks talk about like you're just looking for color.
Yeah,
colors, right? Like
everything
is moving so fast.
You can't
lose who. You're just looking for the colors that your colors. So when both teams have the same colors, it's like you're talking about nanoseconds of decisions. Like you're not like it's probably effort to say like, oh, we're in blues, not whites today. Like you're just going. That probably factors in. I never thought about that. And Ron, to your comment, I cannot stand when I play Madden. The other team is wearing white in the snow.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
You know who always used to do that? Is Buffalo. They wear the all whites with the white helmet, and you can't see a guy for shit. You throw it right at the DB because you're like, I didn't see it. The worst.
Strategery.
But like to me, guys, like that's the game if I'm the Bears that I'm wearing the god-awful orange uniforms because you have the orange helmet. Broncos wear blue helmets. So like you at least have that difference, right? You just look for the big bright orange neon highlighter running down the field and throw it at that guy. Like that's would be my thinking if I'm Eberflus. Speaking of, happy birthday, coach. That's what I'm thinking, right? Like at that point in time. So that's my weird one is Tampa. Because again, and also just it's Florida. Weird shit happens in Florida, right? Weird shit happens in Florida. Weird shit happens when teams have the same colors. And weird shit is going to happen inevitably, Q, like you said as well, in the mistake by the lake, because it's a mistake by the lake.
The whole roster becomes Florida man the second they step off the plane.
Facts. Just weird shit's inevitably going to happen. Like Antoine Winfield's going to like bite somebody's ear off like Mike Tyson. I don't know. Some weird shit's going to happen. That's all. And that's the game that Winfield tortures the Bears because of his dad playing for the Vikings for forever. It's just dumb shit. I don't know. That's just where I'm at. But gentlemen, one final thing I would love to walk through here with you guys. And we can go game by game on this if you guys would like. I'm gonna pitch it to you two. Do we each want to take a turn just running through the schedule, saying win-loss and what our final record is, or do we want to just go game by game as a group and then at the end say, okay, I've got, X as the record? How do you guys want to go about it?
I think we can do game by game.
Yeah, why not?
Just group game by game. All right, let's do it then. Gentlemen, Packers opening day. Juice is in attendance. Talk to me. What are we giving this one?
Well, we'll have no voice by the end of it, and I will be the reason why the Bears win. I'll tell you that much, because I'm gonna be so loud.
The fifth phase.
Fourth phase. Right? Yeah, fourth phase. We do need a fifth though. We should really start. We should crowdsource for a fifth. Hopefully, in the new stadium, we got a fifth phase. But I think they win that one. I really do. I think that's There'll be a lot of demons ready to be exercised, and I think they'll be ready to play to win one of those. And it's going to be hard for Green Bay to go into that game with their new quarterback and win that one. But with that said, they probably will. They'll probably beat us. So yeah, I'll go 1-0 to start.
There's the sour juice, Quentin.
I got the Bears at 55% chance to win this game. That's the way I do it every year. I just give them a percentage of how likely I think they are to win. My heart says go higher, but my brain stops me at 55 because the Packers sure can run the football, and I'm still not sold that the Bears can stop it.
Completely fair. I'm going to join you guys on the back here. I do think the Bears pull this one out. I don't think they're going to blow the doors off of Green Bay necessarily. It strikes me as the perfect 24-21 type finish for this game. It's going to come down to a field goal. It's going to come down to a late stop or a late score or something of that nature that is going to separate these two. But I am also going to take the Bears at 1-0 through week 1. Gentlemen, then they ventured down to Tampa, as I mentioned, the beautiful Florida heat in the middle of September. What do we got against the Buccaneers?
So I got this as an L. I give the Bears a 35% chance in this game. I think that defensive line that Tampa has is still nasty. They just reloaded it with a couple more players in the draft. I'm not sure how good Baker Mayfield is. I'm not sure how good he has to be with that defense behind him. I don't think they're winning Super Bowls or anything, but they're going to be competitive. And with the home field advantage, that heat, the travel, I think the Bucs are going to win this game.
Juice?
I think they win this one. Weirdly enough, I think something weird happens, and they win 2-0.
I like it. I also have the Bears winning this one. My only argument for the heat thing is that you don't get used to the heat, even if you play in Florida. It's heat, right? It's going to affect both teams. And agree, I think that's the perfect game where if something weird that's going to happen in favor of the Bears, it's going to be that one, right? It's going to be, a lucky interception or something, right? Kyler Gordon takes one back to the house or something weird like that's going to happen where it helps the Bears propel them to win. So I have the Bears 2-0 through 2 weeks as well as you do, Juice. Quentin at 1-1. And then, gentlemen, they're back on the road again against the reigning Super Bowl champs in Kansas City. Do we just all want to say it together at this point?
They're winning this one.
Stop it.
Patrick Mahomes' head is going to be on Jackson and on Brittany. It's going to be a problem. Bears go 3-0. Case closed.
Oh, my God.
3-0.
Hey, man, I'm here for it. I want to see it. I'm giving the Bears a 15% chance in this game, but I'm here for that 15%. I'm open. I'm with you, Juice. But for my betting purposes, give me Kansas City.
Yeah, I got this as an L for the Bears as well. I have them 2-1 through 3 weeks. I just
you have little faith.
Arrowhead. I came into this thinking you were going to be giving this team 4 wins, Juice. So I'm
don't
already
be surprised if I don't mark a loss for the whole thing, bud. Don't be surprised.
Just pivot at any moment. All right, Denver back in Chicago, week 4.
Russell Wilson, huge cringe. No chance of winning. They're winning. Bears win again. 4-0.
I mean, there's no way Russell Wilson is as bad as last season, right?
No.
He just can't be that bad at football. With Sean Payton coming in there, I think Denver's actually going to be a pretty good football team. Their roster is pretty darn talented. They got a lot of talent on the defense still. That wide receiver room is stacked up with guys who can never seem to stay healthy. But for now, I'm just going to assume they're healthy for some reason. I'm giving the Bears a 40% chance in this game because it is at home and it's going to be a weird game, like we said. But ultimately, I think Denver is the more talented team, but at home, you definitely have a shot here.
Yeah, I've got the Bears losing this one, and Q, a lot of what you said, right? To me, this team is going to be better under Sean Payton. The defense was great last year. That wasn't their issue, right? If this team could score 17 points last year, they would have won 11 games. The defense was not the issue, was not the problem. It was the offense. And you have to think that offense is going to at least be slightly better under Payton this year. And if it is, I mean, they're all immediately a better football team just because that defense might actually get some real support. So I have the Bears at 500 through 4 weeks of play. Gentlemen, And then it's a weird Thursday night game, and they're in the nation's capital against the Commanders on Amazon Prime. A rematch of last year's Thursday night game. What are we thinking?
Thursday night, they shit on their fans via the stadium. Commanders dropping a huge shit on the field. Bears 5-0. 5-0.
Q, what do you got?
I got Bears at a 55% chance to win this game. And I mean, I think that's fair. Both teams on only 4 days rest. Everything in the playbook is going to be very vanilla for both sides. You don't have time to game plan. You don't have time to implement anything new. You're just going out with pretty much the same game plan you had from either the week before or the week before that. And you're saying the talent's got to win this. I think the Bears are the more talented team. It being in Washington is why I have it a little bit lower. But this is a game that the Bears should win as long as the offensive line is decent. If it's starting to look like last year with the offensive line, this could get scary real fast. But because that Washington defensive line is no joke. But ultimately, I think the Bears are the more talented team. Taylor Heineke isn't going to win this game if the Bears O-line shows up.
Is Taylor Heineke even in Washington anymore? I don't think he is.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Not Taylor Heineke. Who's the
Sam Howell?
Sam Howell. Excuse
me. Same. Potato. Who the fuck cares?
I didn't even know that guy had a different name.
The same dude. It's the same dude.
Right? He just keeps the same number, and they just roll them out there, right? The different name.
That's just the only difference.
How this works.
They list one on the roster as a UNC product. The other guy's an Old Dominion product.
Great country band, by the way. Old Dominion, big fan.
Great country band indeed. I too have the Bears winning this one. Truthfully, I don't think it's close. I think Washington's going to be a dumpster fire by week 5. So that is my 2 cents. But gentlemen, a nice extended break for the Bears then. 10 days of rest coming into Soldier Field to host the Vikings for the first time in 2023. Win or loss? What do we got?
The bright lights of noon, baby. When those flicker on, Kirk Cousins goes real small. I'll tell you that. Bears win again.
So, Bears coming off a mini bye. Matt Eberflus showed us he's the king of the mini bye last year. Mm-hmm. This is a Bears win. Bears beat the Vikings at Soldier Field. Book it.
I'm also booking it. I'm right there with you. I think this is, if they're going to get Minnesota this year, this is the game they get them. I too have the Bears beating the Vikings in week 6. But in week 7, Bears stay home, little home cooking. They will host the Las Vegas Raiders. What do you guys think against Jimmy G and the boys?
Half of Jimmy G's black book that he's got is in the city of Chicago. It's going to be a long weekend for the guy. I'll tell you, he'll be worn out by Sunday. Bears win again.
He's going to be distracted, hooking up with all his former EIU classmates that live in the Chicagoland area. I like where your head's at, Juice Q. What do you got for this game?
So this is still one that I keep going back and forth on. But ultimately, I mean, I look at the Raiders and I see a team that just has a lot of flaws in the way they're built, right? Mm-hmm. Like they got Devontae Adams, who's really good. They have a guy at quarterback who's just kind of okay. And their offensive line really isn't very good. They got some good pass rush, though. You got Max Crosby. You got is it Chandler Jones? Yeah, Chandler Jones. I always accidentally say Christian Jones, so I get it mixed up. But Chandler Jones, and they just drafted Tyree Wilson. So the pass rush is good, but they need corner help. They need help everywhere else pretty much. They just lost Darren Waller. He walked, and I'm not sure this team's very talented outside of those couple difference makers. Give me the Bears. I got them at 60% chance here. They're at home. I might even bump that up to 65 if I'm being honest. I don't think the Raiders are going to be a very good team this year.
Agreed. I don't think the Raiders will be very good either. I'll double down on that and say that with Mr. Adams disgruntled with the offensive direction of this ball club, that he's traded before that point in the season. So they're going to have absolutely nobody.
Josh McDaniels and disgruntled players. Who could have seen that coming?
No, never. I too have the Bears winning this one. So, I mean, hey, looking good through 7 weeks at 5-2, at least for me personally. Q, you have them at this point, I believe, at 4-3. it's Bear Don Meatball City over here for Juice. He's got them 7-0 through 7 weeks. But then they venture out west. Sunday night matchup against the Los Angeles Chargers. As we noted, they haven't played a normal football game in 30 years. What are we thinking, Juice?
It'll be the revenge game of the Cutler thumb. I'll tell you that. The Bears were on a run prior to, was that 2013, 2012? I don't even remember.
2011.
But 2011, even further back. Love it. Thank you, Q. It's the Cutler thumb revenge game. Justin Herbert's hair gets in his way when he's throwing a pass, intercepted by Jaquan Brisker to the house. Bears win.
I love it. Q.
So initially I had this at 30% chance for the Bears. The Chargers they're the most talented team that just cannot figure it out every single year. And so I bumped it up to 35 because Chargers going to Charger. I might even bump it up to 40 because weird things happen with the Chargers. Like they just do. I have no other logic besides that. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack scare the living shit out of me as a Bears fan. But it's still the Chargers, and Chargers going to Charger. Give me 40% chance for the Bears to win.
Charge going to charge. I actually have the Bears winning this one. I think they're going to be ready for the bright lights of Sunday Night Football. And I feel like by that point in the season, the offensive line should be a cohesive unit, assuming there are no major injuries. And Fields will know the playbook well enough by then where, they should go in and take care of business. A weird Chargers team. They're kind of this like weird middle of the pack team where like they should be better, but they're not. So I have the Bears winning that one as well. But then the next week they venture down to NOLA. Gentlemen, what do we have?
I'll tell you what, this is one of those games where we're dancing on Bourbon Street. We're dancing for touchdowns. In and out, I'm telling you right now, the Bears win this one by a cool 45 points.
A cool, calm, collected 45. I love it. Q, what do you got for this one?
So this one is, like we said earlier, it's going to be a weird game. I just thought of this storyline, which is going to be cool. Justin Fields versus Chris Olave. Those guys had quite the connection at Ohio State, and they're going to be going up against each other. And I got it at 40% chance for the Bears to win. It's in New Orleans. That's still a tough roster, a well-coached roster with Derek Carr at the helm. But I think Field is going to put up some fireworks this game. I think it's going to be the Justin Fields, Chris Olave show down south in New Orleans.
I like it. I had this as my game I'm most scared of. I think somebody eats bad gumbo on Saturday night and just shits their brains out all day Sunday and can't play. This game just screams to me trap game, and I think they unfortunately come out with a loss for the first time in quite a few weeks. As we're looking at it here, I think this would be their first loss in 5 weeks at that point in the schedule. And then another short week. They have another 4-day week leading into that game against Carolina. It's the battle of the number one pick transaction. What do we got against the Panthers on Thursday Night Football?
Those Blue Cats got no chance, I'm telling you, man. Zero chance. Bears come out, take care of business in this one. Still have yet to lose.
So give me the Bears 80% chance to win. I got on this one. I think the only way they really lose this game is a major fluke. If some weird stuff goes down, if there's a hurricane or something.
Dare you say a major flus?
Yeah. I see what you did there. Both teams on short rest. It's in Chicago. The home team wins Thursday Night Football. Like for any gamblers out there, the home team almost always covers Thursday Night Football, something like 65% of the time. So, dang. I mean, I expect the Bears to be favorites at home Thursday Night Football. I think Bears are definitely going to win this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Bears are going to be in this one. There is no bad gumbo in this game as there is the week before, as Peebo says here with the bad gumbo. I think they go ahead and they take care of business against Carolina. Again, I agree, Q. Like it makes sense, right? You have a short week and you have to flip around and travel again. The away team's already at a disadvantage from that standpoint. So I'm going to take the Bears against the Panthers in week 10 action. In week 11, though, Bears with another mini bye. They're going to Detroit, playing at Ford Field up in Detroit, Michigan. Juice?
I'll tell you what, right now, man, there's a quarterback out there, the name of Jared Goff, and that guy could hand you a football game. He absolutely will. And there's a reason that Detroit waited so long to play the Bears on this schedule. It's because they ain't never lost, as LeVar said. Never lost. They don't lose this one either.
Cute.
Got this game as a toss-up, 50-50. Bears are going to have a 3-day rest advantage here, so another mini bye. Flus is the king of the mini buys. Detroit might be the more talented team, but Chicago's got the better quarterback, I think. Chicago's got, hopefully, the better coaching staff. As much as I do like Detroit's coaching staff, I think Flus has got it, right? On the mini bye, he's definitely got it. And so I'm putting this a toss-up. I don't think they'll be favored. I think this is a great shot to try to make some money on the Bears as a dog. And I just think Justin Fields is going to show up this game and really put up some numbers.
I like it. I actually have this game as a loss. I don't think it'll be a major loss. I don't think they're going to lose by 10 or 15 or anything crazy like that. I do think they end up losing this one. I think it'll be tight. It'll be close. It might just come down to a big play by maybe the defense. Obviously, Detroit really loaded up their defensive unit this year. Or this screams like the perfect game where David Montgomery goes off for 3 touchdowns and just shits on the Bears. And that, again, right, we talk about the run defense and not being sold on it yet. What worse way to lose than Monty just having a reason to make sure the Bears shit down their own leg in Detroit. So I have the Bears losing this one, unfortunately, in week 11. And then in week 12, they're back on the road. This time it's on Monday Night Football, but they're up in Minnesota. The fucking Viking horn's going to be every 5 seconds you possibly can. You're going to hear the skull, skull, skull every 5 minutes on the broadcast. What do you guys think this one?
I'll tell you what, if the bright lights of noon were too much for Kirk Cousins, that's 7:15 going to be way too much. This one isn't even going to be close. I'll tell you that. Bears win yet again, and the dynasty is starting to take form at this point.
Love that. Q.
So I would have this one a little lower, but Kirk Cousins prime time, I just do not trust to show up and get the job done. So I've got it at 40% right now. Otherwise, I'd probably have it at 35 or 30, just because Minnesota's a tough spot to play. I think their team is on the downturn. I think that their roster management has just been kind of confusing from an outsider perspective, but they're still playing at home with some. I mean, they still got Justin Jefferson on the roster. They still just got Jordan Addison, and they still got Danielle Hunter for now. They got some other players on defense who are nice players. I think this is going to be a tough one to take the W home with.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there, Q. I've also got them losing this one. I think this is the one the Vikings do get because it's in their own building. And I would honestly, I think it would be more of an advantage if they were playing in the daytime. I don't know if you guys know this about US Bank Field, but it is engineered where when they do play a day game, the sun just blares right into the visitors' sideline. Been to that building, actually a very pretty stadium. Knowing that Kevin Warren was a part of that beautiful stadium and knowing what he's going to do in Arlington Heights, it gets me a little excited. But I unfortunately have them losing this one. I don't think Kirk's going to need to do anything. I think they're going to be able to run the ball, assuming Dalvin Cook is still a Viking at that point. And again, they do still have Justin Jefferson and now just added Jordan Addison. So who knows? But I too have the Bears losing going into the bye week, which is week 13. And then they'll come back and play Detroit at home in week 14, gentlemen. Bears going 2-0 potentially here, Juice, against the Lions.
I'll tell you right now, it ain't 70 degrees outside at Soldier Field. Those guys play in a dome up there, not used to it. I'll tell you right now, Bears win. Huge. This isn't even going to be close. It's going to be snowing. I'm going to be throwing snowballs at Jared Goff. He's going to be throwing picks left and right. It's going to be awesome.
I love that, Q.
So give me the Bears. 60% chance coming off the bye. I love it. I love this spot for the Bears. I'm sure I'm in the minority here, but I think the Bears have a real shot at sweeping the the Lions this year, just because they have such a rest advantage against them in both the games. I think that's going to play out huge. I think this game might start up some controversy is Hendon Hooker healthy yet?
Wow.
That's a spicy little meatball at the end there. I
Oh,
like that.
wow.
I That's something definitely to keep in mind. I unfortunately don't think the Bears win this one. I think it's going to come down to some fluky play.
What kind of
I don't
fan
think
are you?
it's not. It's not even going to come down to Goff. I think, in my opinion, I think it's going to
Yeah,
be.
it's going to come down to how accurate I am with snowballs. I'll tell you that.
Yes, it's 100% going to involve that.
Just kidding.
I just have a bad feeling. I have a feeling this Lions team takes a step forward this year, so I have the Bears losing in Week 14, and then they venture in Week 15 out to Cleveland. That time is still to be determined. Just one of 2 times on the schedule that aren't predetermined already. Guys, what do you think with the Browns?
I'll tell you why this is TBD, and it's because we don't know when Deshaun Watson's getting his massages that day. So he hasn't told. And I'll tell you what, he's going to need more after the Bears are piling on with the sacks in that one. Bears win again.
I love it.
I've only got the Bears at a 20% chance in this one. I think this is their worst matchup of the year. I just think their strengths pit against the Bears' weaknesses so well that I don't see the Bears winning this game unless Justin Fields just goes supernova and like becomes an MVP candidate. That's the only way I think the Bears win this game. So I got Cleveland here.
I'm doubling down on what you said, Q. I also have the Bears losing that one. Unfortunately, a 4-game losing streak here for me for the Bears. But then they return home. It's a 3:25 on Christmas Eve against the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray should be back by that point, so will not be a Kyler Murray-less team. Nonetheless, I think it's a shitstorm in the desert. Juice, what do you think for this one?
The Cardinals are who we thought they were. They're who we thought they were. And that's why we're going to win.
I like it. Q?
Kyler Murray's not going to be back this game. He is going to play too much Call of Duty. He's going to skimp out on his physical therapy, and Arizona Cardinals are going to have the number 1 pick. Give me the Bears 90%.
I love that. I love that. Almost doubling down with a little bit of juice thunder there from Q. I'm such a fan. I also think the Bears take care of business. I think the Cardinals are an absolute shitbag of an organization. And I think this is an easy win for the Bears. This is where they right the ship a little bit, and they puff their chest out a little higher. I think after this one, especially at the holiday season, and they get to stay home during the holiday season, which is cool for the Bears because on New Year's Eve they welcome in Bijan Robinson and the Atlanta Falcons. Gentlemen, what do we got here in Week 17?
Red Stallions, right? No shot for the Red Stallions in this one. Bears at a calm 16-0 right now. Right? 16-0? 15-0?
16-0.
16-0.
You're right. Q.
So Falcons are their offense is really similar to Cleveland, wherein like what they do just really worries me with where the Bears' talent is on defense. I've got this as a straight toss-up, 50-50. I can see it going either way. At my heart, I want to say Bears. They're the home team playing against a dome team. Like in December, Soldier Field, New Year's Eve. If Atlanta doesn't have anything on the line, they might not even be trying, like putting it all out there, leaving it all out on the field. If they're not in the playoff hunt, if they are, and the Bears are, this could become a really interesting game. I don't want it to become a physical battle against the Falcons in a playoff situation in the cold. That actually kind of scares me. But yeah, I got it at a toss up. I'll say Bears, but it could go either way.
Yeah, I have the Bears winning this one, but I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think the Falcons are going to run the ball because that's what they're designed to do. I think the Bears do enough to win. But I think points are going to be hard to come by. Like this game just screams to me like there's going to be like 6 inches of snow right before the game, and it's going to be a winter wonderland out there on New Year's Eve. This is the game that like 16-13 is your final score. Like that's how I envision this game going. But I do think the Bears take care of business. I think I don't think the Falcons will be in a playoff position come year end. I don't know because that NFC South is such hot dog shit that like anybody in that division could win that division.
I think we're gonna see like 20 teams in the hunt from the NFC this year.
Yeah,
that's a real number.
That's
20.
fair.
20. A couple of AFC teams too. The whole NFC and a couple of AFCs. I'm right there with you. But I do have the Bears take care of business against the Falcons. And then one final showdown in the regular season. It will be in the frozen. It'll probably be frozen on January 7th at the frozen tundra as they go up north to play Green Bay in the last week of the season. Juice, do they cap it off?
So I'm going to tell you right now, everything will be clinched here. So Justin Fields will be sitting, in a coat, hanging out. But this, my friends, will be remembered as the PJ Walker game. This is going to be the game where PJ Walker and Dante Pettis hook up for at least 17 touchdowns. And the Bears win this one 273, Packers -3. Coach Ditka and Coach Fruce will find a way.
I love it. Earlier, Scott said Happy Juice is on a roll, never stop. Completely agree. Yeah, man. Hey, I love it. -3 might be the temperature legitimately for that game. So
that's the only competition Green Bay will have that day, my friend.
It's the temperature. Yeah, hey, that is totally fair. Q, what do you got for this one?
Man, so much of this comes down to like where each team is. If the Bears are eliminated, it's like who cares? If Green Bay is eliminated too, it's like what are I can't even put a number on it. What their odds are in a game where both teams are eliminated because who knows who's even playing. But if both teams are in contention or for a playoff spot, even if it's like a 7 seed, I'm leaning the Packers. I got the Bears at 45%. Like I think that in January in a must-win game for both teams, I just think the Packers are going to shove the ball down your throat on offense and like right up the middle, just over and over and keep pounding you. And I just don't know if the Bears have the depth on their D line to handle that.
Yeah.
And that pains me to say. I feel like full of sorrow as I'm saying that. But
no, I totally get that because that's how I feel describing this game. To me, this one is the biggest toss-up, right? Like I firmly believe there's a world that the Bears do absolutely win this game, and in my eyes, and for what my prediction is, they have a good enough record to absolutely make the playoffs. I think even if they lose this game, I think there's maybe a way where they can sneak in as that 7th seed, especially if the NFC has as much kind of disparity as you believe it will. Q. So I'm going to take the Bears by the hair of my chinny chin on this one.
You got a lot of hairs there, though.
I know there's a lot of hairs here on the chin. Not as many as Q's, but
I always feel like I'm left out on this show because I'm like, oh man, so that's why I don't shave on Wednesdays anymore. I keep a little
I like it. We need to get you Juice to grow out a mustache like Kent's, with where you can curl it and everything.
Now I'll tell you what. After rewatching that was an impressive mustache.
That's an epic mustache.
That was that's something that if I could grow, I would in a heartbeat. But no shot here, buddy. No shot.
Well, hey, we can always hold out hope. Maybe they'll create something where we can just slap one on you for during the shows if we need to.
That we can do.
Yeah, we'll just get you.
Untap's got the budget for that.
We'll get you a Ditka stash to get.
I'll tell you, this 17-0 Bears this year, they ain't gonna lose to no one.
I love it. So, gentlemen, if we do the math here. Mine actually changed because I'm taking the Bears in that last week of the season. Juice has them at a perfect 17-0, of course. Fair time.
Not true though. Let me just
What do you actually have them at?
I think they win like 8 or 9 games. That's just
okay.
Being realistic. Looking at the schedule, there's about 8 that I feel confident that they can actually win. I was just happy that after the first 2, when I was like, man, I could really just make this a whole bit where I just go 17 and don't really lean on it. But no, I think 8 to 9 wins is probably fair, and maybe they make playoffs at that point. 8 and 9 wins.
Yeah,
it's very possible.
I originally had them at 9 and 8 with me flipping that last game. That puts them at. I think real case scenario they go either 8 and 9 or 9 and 8, but best case scenario they go 10 and 7. That's what I truly believe is a fair guesstimation for what the Bears do. And Q, yours puts you right at about 8-9 wins as well.
8 and 9, and then there's 2 50-50 games in there. So if you just split them, it's 8 and 9 if they win both, or 9 and 8.
So there you go. So I think we're all on the same page here. Quickly, just from the comments too, because there was a couple of predictions in here I want to share. Don't want to leave anybody out. The friend's sophisticated thoughts here saying, brothers, I think we only lose to the good QBs this year. He says Mahomes, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, split with Goff and Cousins. He says that's 6 L's, so he has them. Doing quick math, 11-6. On the season, and then doing one better than that, our old buddy Scott Crawford here as the Bears winning the North at 12-5.
Scott,
Hey,
5 losses. It's just not happening.
We talked about it like before we jumped on though. Like you do look at the schedule, and in a perfect world, you do see a way where this team could go 12-5. However, you just know some weird shit's going to happen in like 3 or 4 of those games, and that's what's going to drag that record down. But otherwise, right, like you think of like a game against New Orleans, right? Like New Orleans gets out to an early, maybe like 14-0 lead, and like even though the Bears offense starts to respond, they just never catch up type thing, right? Like it's going to be some shit like that, I think, that ultimately drags them down. But gentlemen, final thoughts on the schedule before we start to wrap things up here.
The NFL did the Bears some serious favors with this schedule. Like I do not think having no teams coming off a bye week and no teams even coming off the mini bye with Thursday Night Football. I think that matters. I think that if there's going to be fluky things that happen in the Bears' favor, I will not be surprised. That's the only way I can put it. Like, I mean, I do not want to set my expectations above like that 7 to 9 win range, because I think that is based in reality. That's where the talent on the field points me to. But teams with that type of talent have done weird things before. So I don't want to say that. I'm just saying the way the schedule shapes up, it makes me a little more optimistic than I probably should be. But I'm not going to throw those numbers out there either, because I think 7 to 9 is what's based in reality.
Completely respectable. Juice.
I think when you look at the schedule for this year, there's a good chance that, the Bears do find themselves in a playoff hunt. Because, I mean, if you look at the NFL in general, half of the playoff field changes over every year. There's teams that file in and out, and who knows? With the way the schedule is, it seems like they won't be – they're either going to have Justin Fields on the as the best quarterback in a lot of the matchups, or they're going to be really damn close. Like, there's not one matchup other than, like, the Chiefs, maybe, where you look and you're like – and the Chargers, where you look and you're like, man, you are really outnumbered at the quarterback position. Like, everything else is close, and quarterback play wins in the NFL. So as long as Justin's good, this team is probably going to be pretty damn good, and that's what we have to hang our hat on right now. You're hoping for the Josh Allen year 2 kind of jump from him, and if you get that – then it could be a lot of fun, because this division's wide open and there's a lot of question marks on all the teams in the NFC, probably with a minus of the Eagles, and you don't play them. So, yeah, every game this year should be pretty close to winnable, minus a few. And who knows? Like you said, football's odd, and hopefully, they get a couple bounces here and there. We're probably pretty due for that over the course of the last couple of years too. I mean, they've lost a lot of one-score games. They've been kind of screwed out of a couple by officiating and things like that too. So maybe you get a couple breaks here and there, you take advantage of it, and maybe that 9 win looks more like 10 or 11. And maybe in that point you get some well-needed experience with a young football team.
100%. I'm right there with you guys. I think you absolutely look at the schedule, and based on who's on that schedule, it's not total blasphemy to say this team could win 11 games. Like, I think that's very realistic. I think this team, because of the nature of the NFC North, and outside of maybe Detroit, a lot of people expecting the Vikings to regress, expecting the Packers to regress. I think there is a world where the Bears are in the NFC North hunt come week 14, 15 of the season. That being said, I also believe, just based on how shit always happens, like a 9-win, I think a 9-win season is a huge victory for this Bears team. If they sneak in as a 7 seed and they get a little bit of that playoff experience, I think that's huge. If they just miss, that puts you in the top 16 and probably in the top 8 with the Panthers pick next year with those 2 firsts too. So it's a good year to have a building year. I wouldn't be mad if they exceed expectation whatsoever. I hope they exceed expectation. But again, nonetheless, I think the difference between this year and last year is like there's so much more to be excited about. That just like this team's going to be fun to watch, right? Because you have so many new bodies on the field, talented bodies on the field at that, right? TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds on defense. You factor in a guy like Tyreek Stevenson. I think he's going to take somebody's head off at that corner spot just because of how physical he is. Just some of those notes, right? And then even offensively, it's going to be awesome seeing what does DJ Moore elevate this passing game to, because it opens up guys like Mooney and Claypool with more advantageous matchups, right? So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm super pumped, and it's just, again, it's nice to know who's playing where, and if you can make it out to a bunch of home games is obviously great, but sometimes it's cool to be on the road and see the Bears play somewhere else as well.
And honestly too, I think, I don't want to speak for all of us, but we'd sign up for a 7-win team if it meant that we knew Justin Fields was taking the jump. If they're losing games because they can't stop anybody on defense, but offensively it looks great and it's just a matter of addressing, the defensive line or a few positions after that, I think we would all sign up for that. And I think that this is the perfect year to have those expectations. And I'm just excited to watch the growth. I think that it's a really excited time to be a Bears fan because this schedule is pretty favorable, and Justin Fields is going to have every opportunity to show how good he is. And let's just see how good he is.
Absolutely. Anything else?
If Kevin Warren wins a Super Bowl in his first year as team president, how many meals will he buy in the city of Chicago the rest of his life?
Zero. He will key to the city at that point. I've said it on here before, man. It's the only thing I have left to see. I've seen everything else. This is, and everybody here too is in that same boat. We got nothing left else here to hang our hat on after that. We weren't alive for 85, so I'm ready for that next. I'm tired of watching the Bears roll out the same guys from 85 too. It's like, yeah, hey, at halftime, it's Richard Dent for the 17th time. No, man, I want a new championship team to love for the next, 40 years or something like that.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. I'm right there with you. I think everything you guys had to say was completely appropriate. Before we get out of here, reminding everybody, Bears on Tap, one of 2 official podcasts covering the Chicago Bears here at the On Tap Sports Network. Check out our friends over at Bears Nation Pod. They're at Bears Nation Pod on Twitter and YouTube. You can see them over there. The boys do a great job of covering the Bears, and we'll be in rotation with their show this season. So expect a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday cadence. Bears Nation Pod will run Mondays, Wednesdays. We'll run on Tuesdays. It'll be a blast. Plenty of Bears content from On Tap Sportsnet to get you through the NFL season. And we got it all too. Both teams on each side of town for baseball, Blackhawks, Bulls, the whole 9. We got it all. Bulls on Tap, probably live right now as well if you want to bop over and catch the last of their show. If not, be sure to check that out as well. They'll have a new episode out too. And guys, as always, you can catch all of that here on TapSportsNet.com, at On Tap Sportsnet, on social media, the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Schedules here, boys. I'm just ready for football. I know you guys are too. Always a pleasure jumping on the microphone with you 2 gentlemen. And we'll just get out of here with a good old classic, Bear Down.
Bear down.
Bear down.